Welcome, everybody, to Generation Dan. Come with me, and you'll be in a state of pure disappointment.
I mean, for lots of reasons. Like, let's be honest. We're talking about some things today, Atlas. It's
that are just could not Wonka the walk. If
there's it's tough because you don't. I love the saying that I learned from you, which is I don't want to yuck someone's yum, and like that is a legitimate thing. I agree with it wholeheartedly, but also maybe you suck. Like at the same time, it's a difficult situation to be put in, let alone to be in. But we are discussing two specific things this week.
That expression, don't yuck on someone's yum, that came from my cousin Charlotte. So shout out to her.
Can't you just take credit for anything? Just steal it. Steal credit for everything. You know what? When you have a kid, I want you to be like, I birthed this child. Just boom.
Yeah. Well, also, okay, so just as a white guy,
yeah,
you got to at least give your credit where it's due.
You don't. That's false. Don't? No, you know what? Hey, listen. We got this far with all sorts of people stealing credit. The hell with it.
It's even funnier to me.
Don't yuck on my yum. Absolutely.
It's definitely one of those things where I, as a teacher, I didn't realize how much plagiarism is part of the everyday. Where they're like, "Here's my lesson plan from 10 years ago. Have it." You're like, "Okay, that's fun."
Good for you for thinking that people weren't pieces of shit. Good. Like that makes you a good person, right?
Well, like also it's a thing where I don't like now that I know that it's just kind of part of how it works. It doesn't bother me to do that.
Yeah.
But versus in comedy, don't steal other people's material.
Hello, Serge, and welcome, Serge. So this is the thing though, is that I think the other way where it's like, well, everyone else is doing it. That doesn't make it okay. It doesn't. And like, in all honesty, being trying to be creative in how you deliver information, especially like lesson plans and stuff like that. Number one, keeps you as an educator, because a teacher is a glorified babysitter. An educator is someone who opens children's minds. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's
like Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. Listen, imagination is a huge area that requires development, and as we've learned, school is actually there to beat that shit out of you. So the idea of you leading by example to try and think, I think, who are these weirdos? Wouldn't you like to know? What's up, Cole? But that's the thing, is like one of those things where like it makes your life harder. Like being imaginative and changing things and making them your own is a significantly much harder path to tread. But at some point, like even in comedy, right? Like you write stuff and you're like, oh, I can always keep that in my back pocket because it's mine. I made it. I'm not stealing anyone's, right? I've had stuff where I was working on stuff, and like I was working on a bit about which I'm still working on it because it's mine, right? Whereas like you don't understand how difficult it is to follow immigrant parents who are like, I came to this country with $5 and half a luggage, not a full luggage, half the luggage full. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this is it. And I made all of this magic, You're like, how do you follow that shit? Right. I'll tell you, with depression, it's good. It's
a good one.
Yeah. So, but like that's somebody else did something similar. So going my own direction isn't easier. That is, well, listen, when you're as big as Kyle and myself, maybe 50-50. You just knock the walls down and just keep on walking. What are they going to say? No, absolutely not. It's just not how that works. So,
yeah. So, I'm sure other people have heard about this, but there was an exhibit of in Glasgow, right? It's not Glasgow, right?
I'm not from that weird speaking country.
I'm not either.
Bunch of weirdos over there. No. So this was the ad that was placed. Okay. And that's how you buy the tickets. That's the experience. And
this looks like my sleep paralysis. Put it back up. This looks like my sleep paralysis demon vomited and missed the toilet.
I mean, Monday night. What are you gonna do?
Indulge in a chocolate fantasy like never before. Capture the enchantment.
And like tickets to Willy's Chocolate Experience are on sale now. Now, that being said, okay, if you Google, so I have an article here from BuzzFeed. So tell me about it, Dino. Lousy, overachieving immigrant family. I know, bunch of assholes, right? They're just so mean.
I just love the idea of you just being like fucking overachieving immigrant family, like you're bullying your own family.
And like, you're like, oh, how dare you be successful? Like, how dare you come to a country in the prime of its existence, make generational wealth, and then ask your children to keep that going? You selfish pricks. Just absolutely. Just there you go. So it's up to you. Like, I have a BuzzFeed article. If you want, I can pull it up. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Go
for it.
So I will there. No, window there. All right. So this is so in the UK, it talks about you can hire a Grinch to come and steal your presents and teach your kids a lesson. But now Willy's Chocolate Experience in Glasgow. So it starts like this.
So it's the same people? Like the same...
Well, it's the same area.
Okay.
These both things are started in the UK. So as you can see, you have this is the event site on one side, and on the other side is the actual event. Now, I do have some more pictures, so I'm going to show you guys, but basically it's like if you went in with VR glasses, maybe that, but as is, nah, like, because these are the pictures that it showed versus the rainbow archway that you could walk through.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is the real money spot. Is they had hired Oompa Loompas. That's an Oompa Loompa.
She looks bored in that picture.
She looks like she's not enjoying herself. Let's stay there. But yeah, and then this was the cool thing is they had the unknown, and it was just scaring the shit out of children.
Oh my god!
But it got worse. So there was a guy. Like, my current hobby is finding new photos of the Glasgow Willy Wonka Experience. So Willy's Cafe. But this is the guy. So this guy was one of the cast members. His name was Timothy Charlatan. And he goes, sorry?
His last name is literally Charlatan?
No, he referred to himself as Timothy Charlatan.
Oh, I was
and he said,
God damn, that's an unfortunate last name.
100%. It's a horrible thing.
Yeah.
So he had to learn 15 pages of AI-generated gibberish in just a day for the role. He shared that one of his favorite lines included, "There is a man who lives here. His name is not known, so we call him the Unknown. The Unknown is an evil chocolate maker who lives in the walls." Reference point, this guy. Okay, that's the Unknown. And sure enough, he goes, the script had a moment where I was supposed to suck up the Unknown with a giant vacuum cleaner, he added. I asked about that, and the people running the event were like, we don't know what to do with that. Just improvise that. He's like, I can't improvise a vacuum cleaner. That's not how that works. So, yeah, it goes on. He explains how horrible it was. And the event is now canceled. But
wait, go back up. It looks like just like that's like a shitty piece of paper. Like, grab something for the back office. We need
and also like canceled by
by
event canceled by House of Illuminate. Contact sorry. So it's just Willy's Chocolate Experience. Like, apparently it is trending on Reddit. It is they sold tickets. As you can see, this lady is giving them a little bit of something. I hope it's candy. It might be herpes. You never know.
I love that she looked like it's like a medieval peasant haircut.
Very much.
The Oompa Loompas, because the Oompa Loompas had kind of that 70s like down to your shoulders thing in the movie, but they usually had something up here like a Cindy Lou Who thing going on,
like
or
a curl or down something.
No, this is just like we took the wigs from, I forgot what commercial it was for. Was it State Farm or something, where it was like a medieval peasant and then just spray painted it green and then threw it on the girl's head.
Also, interestingly enough, I found pictures that help compare or give us an idea of history repeating itself, which is this picture, Homerland, admissions $50, and Fort Adventure. There you go. So basically, The Simpsons once again has predicted the future. And AI is 100% ruining everything. So yeah, that's the mockery, Oppenheimer, top tier. Top tier.
I gotta love like so you know how when you put in a prompt in AI in ChatGPT, and you'll like put different things like please include this, this, and this, and it will make a point of putting like a bold thing at the top of each section to show like which parts for which thing. I assigned an essay to to one of my classes, and a kid turned that in with the bold stuff still in there. It was like, really? Did you even try, man?
God. Yeah. Like that, like the idea too is like, hey, if you don't like, the problem is with filters and all that kind of stuff, you're setting expectations too high as it is, right? You need more than VR glasses, more like mushroom acid blend to make that look like the other one. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. If you want, like, just go hit up my sleep paralysis demon. He's a messy little bitch. He'll help you out.
Hilariously, as I've documented on my channel, the last 3 Mondays we've been going to see the extended versions of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And the one where Gandalf says, you know, I went to the highest dungeon of the lowest peak, blah 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 blah, and then like I traveled through time and space, and I'm like, that's what it looks like when you go on mushrooms. And Victoria's like, oh god. I'm like, yeah.
VR so that's glasses, no less than 9 grams of Blue Meanie. Blue Meanie, like from Yellow Submarine? Or?
No, Blue Meanie is a psychedelic mushroom that you.
No, I know that, but I mean, like, is that the?
I assume reference?
Because
Well, that's what I take. Blue Meanie. That's what. Yeah, and they're top tier.
Yeah.
Nobody had the idea and posted it first. Lousy giant hand fingers. I mean,
look.
Yeah, she's
Kyle is a giant, and if you want him to guide you on your mushroom trip, check out the episode that we had after Dino did mushrooms for the first time.
Top tier Sherpa. He was just guided me through. Kyle was my spirit animal, and I am his spirit animal in a different way. It's very good.
They did put as much effort in the cancellation sign as they did the rest of the event. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Basically, I think the Oompa was giving them each 2 fingers of lemonade and a lolly. I mean, I feel like that's exactly how that goes. Yeah, 2 fingers of lemonade. Yeah, that seems.
This Wonka's Experience of this generation's Fire Island. Victoria. Fire Festival was the music festival done run. Fire Island, way different thing.
Well, hey. What's up, Shandog? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, no, it's like the idea, like, look, so having worked an event in October, I helped set up a couple of events, or one event after that. Kyle actually worked the events, and those were like, it's a lot of work to put in. Like, one of them was a whole light festival and stuff, so like there was a lot of work, and the promo was hard because you could only take it at nighttime. You had to be careful, and people were trying to get poses and stuff, and you're like, yeah, it's you got to be careful with regards to good photography versus AI just took over and did something. Like, a lot of people are putting up pictures of like, oh, my LinkedIn pictures or my headshots are just AI generated. And you're like, that's a horrible idea, because I think AI might be too kind and give me extra hair I don't have. So all good. Hope everyone else is doing good. I mean, I feel like that Oompa Loompa wasn't doing too good. But these are the pictures that we have. So there's the Oompa Loompa, and like at the same time, like they did some stuff, but I'm like, why not more? Like, you just have a cement ground, like anything, nothing, just
God.
Like,
okay, if you're gonna like just throw up a couple of plastic things from like a parade that you had a few months ago, just go to the rug store and like just get some shitty carpets, throw them on the floor, something, you know,
anything.
Yeah,
it's the biggest thing. Like, people were comparing it to a meth lab, and you're kind of like, I mean, those guys don't sleep, so I can imagine their houses are decorated that way.
Charlie, we need to cook.
Non-stop.
Now that's a headcanon I could see, right? Instead of like chocolate is the banned substance.
It makes
Willy Wonka gets cancer. He hits up Charlie Bucket to be like, all right, we gotta.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things that I'm just like, I can't even comprehend why people are just trying to be like, oh yeah, it's gonna look like that, and you're like, okay, but then it's got to look like that. Like, you can't just like, you're gonna get one day of people coming through, and most of the people are gonna ask for refunds.
Yeah.
Right. And I love when people are like, there's no refunds. You're like, okay, that's a red flag in and of itself. Right.
Last weekend we took Katie's nephews to Bluey camp, right, where it's got like Bluey Experience, and it's the whole shtick is it's the inside of their house, and you're supposed to go around, and that was admittedly kind of like, it looks like, hastily thrown together, right?
Right.
But it looks really good because you're copying, somebody's house, and it's like children playing. So like, oh, there's a pillow fort in this room.
Yeah.
And we just stuck a slide on it, and it was great. It went awesome. And I really wish I had taken some Blue Mini before I got inside there, because that seems like it would have been fun.
There is there is a fine line between something not being perfect and that kind of effort. Like, we recently, so there was what was it? There was a Dr. Zeus exhibit type thing that they had up here. We went, and the problem was it was like all kids, and this was when I was still I was like probably like 2021, maybe 2022, no, 2021 probably. So I was still fat, and I'm walking around there, I'm like, Victoria, you cannot leave my side because there are too many children here and I do not belong here. And she's like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. And a couple times staff were like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm with people, I'm not here by myself, I swear to God. And they're like, it's totally cool, no problem. I'm like, I swear to God, I didn't want to do this.
I love the idea of someone doing that, and they're being like, you could have just said, I'm fine. Saying I'm with people sounds a little too suspicious,
100% suspicious. And I'm telling you, I did not look any less suspicious. Dr. Seuss was leaps and bounds better than the Willy Wonka. Wonka. Listen, that was like, they had rooms, displays, but also like lighting. I really feel like the key to, or the big difference there was, if they had more lights, or even like carpet on the ground painted somehow, problem solved. Like, it would have been, you could have closed that gap quite easily. And even like, I remember a few years ago we went because there is a castle in Toronto. It's called Castle Loma. And it is a full castle, and it is featured in a lot of the X-Men movies. Especially when they drive around in the interior, that's Castle Loma. Now, they have, every year they'll have a haunted house, but if you go out back, they have a whole bunch of light projections onto it that make it look like the actual building is like on fire, or pieces fall out, or like something pops out, but it's all just a light show because it's nighttime. You can, if there's no light, it just goes away. This is very, very simple. I'm like, they just have high powered lights. There's a whole video that goes on, and you're like, yeah, simple. You're like, but you guys did nothing. It's just a cement floor and afternoon light. You're like, that's the worst light. So don't do that.
That's the afternoon delight that nobody wants.
Yeah, that's basically.
Jesus. Yeah. Like, I feel like for something like an experience, you can't really do a phone it in thing. Very much, because nobody goes to an experience being like, I've never heard of this Willy Wonka before. I wonder what it's like. This is people being like, I read Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I read Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. I watched the 70s movie. I watched the movie with Johnny Depp. I watched the new thing with Timothy Chalamet. Like, they are there for the thing. And like, you better give it to them.
You better give it. Like, see, that is the hard part about mimicking somebody else's imaginative process, right? Which hilariously brings us back to our first topic, was just plagiarism and everything, right? Like, the idea is that if you said it's a chocolate experience, you could get away with whatever you want. But by calling it a Willy Wonka, like a Wonka experience, you're like, no, like, The
Yeah.
only like the advertisement was for what was it called?
I want to see Violet Beauregard turn into a blueberry again. You better fucking make it
I
happen.
mean, who doesn't want to see that? Like, let's be honest. Like, so it's Willy's Chocolate Experience.
Mhm.
Number one, like, I feel like you couldn't really get away with that without like they didn't have Wonka in there, but you're like the assumption is there. You're using all the same colors, all the same pictures,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? So
It's
like
not
if
like
you
you're gonna watch it and be like, man, this is Wilmer McLean's Chocolate Experience. No, it's fucking
right,
you know,
and
Willie
that's
Nelson's Chocolate Experience.
everyone's getting high. That's how
That's the one with Blue Meanie. That's
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'd go, but
Yeah.
like, that's the whole problem with it all is that you can't like yeah, you're absolutely right. You've set an expectation by there is media out there, and especially with books, people's imagination is vastly more impressive than what you can produce on screen, right? Like
Mhm.
even CGI sucks sometimes. So you're
Yeah.
like, look, it's not an easy thing. So you set those expectations. Yeah, what did you expect to happen, right? I just love how bad this like, bro. Nothing like what's the yellow tape for even like I don't I love the bee. That's pretty cool, but it's just so aggressive. Like you need it. Like even this right here, like what we're looking at right now, like if
Yeah.
you had the right lighting, maybe something in the
Yeah,
background
the
and
fact
in
that
the
it's like
ground.
daytime, you're in like just a warehouse somewhere, and
Yeah.
there's like the sunlight streaming in. That reminds you that you're in the real world. The Bluey thing, that shit. So that it was
Yeah.
like a toy store, and then at the back they open this door and it's all enclosed. So
Beautiful.
there like no light coming in. Every light is
Yeah.
made by whatever you're in. Like
Yeah.
even the windows of the house are
Yeah.
like
Not real. Yeah.
or yeah, it's like repeating gifs of like the family walking by. And it's like,
Perfect.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, you can see the mom and dad and that kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing is like when you're trying to create an experience, it is important to have a closed environment because you can't control the sun or clouds. That's
Yeah.
just not, so a closed environment, you're like, yeah, you pay more for electricity, but also too, you are in complete control of the environment. And that may like the when we did Hexwood, like that was the thing was like there were a couple nights where like it was raining and stuff, and you're just like, I was lucky I had a hoodie. Kyle just had like it was like a dress shirt and an apron. I had like 4 layers of sweaters and then a big hoodie that I covered my head with. Then I had an apron. Then I had like welder's gloves, and I'm like, dude, like, are you cold? And I'm like, I feel great. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
if anything, I could let it go a little colder and it'll just balance me out. Because one night it got too hot and I was like, oh god, I got too much clothes on, I can't breathe. Oh god, like I felt like I was gonna die,
Yeah.
right? So like Kyle a couple times walked in, he's like, hey, and I'm like, you look like you're a solid piece of ice. He's like, I am very cold, I'm going inside. I'm like, that's a good idea. He was like right out in the thoroughfare, so you're like, yeah, you're gonna get cold as shit.
I love how matter of fact that is.
Yeah,
I'm very cold. I'm going inside.
Yeah. And then we also scared a bunch of people. It was perfect. It was great.
Yeah, you're calling them sandwiches. It's a good time.
Oh, it was so much fun. But that's like then we had like I worked a little bit on helping set up where it was a light show. It was called the Night of Lights. And I remember one of the first nights there was a guy who came in and started getting angry because they weren't allowed to have a Santa because it was right beside a mall that had a Santa. So this thing was, I think it was only like it was a fairly good price. It was like half of the price. Yeah, I was in beast mode. I mean, absolutely. There's no question there. But the like normally when they had this event, they would have a Santa, but because there was a Santa on the inside and this was half the price, you're like, you can't have lights and Santa. The mall was like, you're not allowed to have Santa. And hilariously, leading up to it, I was like, what we should do is everyone should be like a cousin of Santa. And I'm like, oh, I'm Dino Santa. I'm Dino Claus. I'm his cousin from Greece. It doesn't count. And then I'm like, oh, if you want real Santa, he's actually inside. So we don't always be like, we could all be knockoff Santas as the staff.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's a great idea. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a great idea because it's easy and it skirts the line of them getting angry. Like, no, the real Santa's inside. You gotta go see him.
As was established by the Hollywood acclaimed movie Vince Vaughn Spectacular, Fred Claus.
I mean, yeah, it can work. That's why I'm like, you it's so much harder to kind of work off of other people's imagination. It's just not, it's one of those things that's gonna blow up in your face, right? But I don't know. It's very confusing. Speaking of things that are confusing, Atlas, I believe Kyle, I liked Fred Claus.
It's not that bad of a movie. Like Katie and I watched a bunch of Christmas movies leading up to the holidays, and like they're not supposed to be good. That's where you take the blue meanie is for, and then watch Hallmark Christmas movies and be like, he's gonna solve all his problems with his penis. Run, lady, run! Like,
you know what? Like hilariously, just before Halloween was the first time Victoria and I both got COVID. So I was taking like massive dumps of mushrooms. Like I took 14 grams on one day.
Wow.
It was awesome. But then what I did was I also watched all 3 of the I believe it's called Hotel Hell. No.
Hotel Hell.
I don't know. It's Halloween LLC or something. Anyways, it's about a haunted house and everything just kind of spirals out of control. And then it turns out that the house was actually haunted, but they like, anyways, it's a horrible B movie. It is on Prime and there are 3 of them. None of them are actually very good. When you're on mushrooms, they are wild. I'll tell you that because you can see through time. Super fun. But yeah, you get like, that's why I'm like, if anything, what you want to do is drop microdoses for people walking through that thing and they'll be like, oh, this is great. Be like, yeah, that's because you're traveling through space and time. That's it.
I need to come up to Canada and you need to be my guide because like I got the permission from my neurologist where she's like, you should be okay, just don't do anything stupid. I'm like, all right, cool. I've been to plenty of methods houses. That place was nice. Calm down.
He meant meth house. Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah, I was like methods house. What the fuck is he talking about?
I feel like it was a meth house that has been put up for sale. They're like, hey, we cleaned it up. Everything's fine. What about the mushrooms? Those were there when we got here. That's fine.
Method house sounds like a meth lab run by actors, right? Or like just like the kids who didn't make it in the school play.
Have you ever seen the back of a dollar bill on shrooms? I have not.
No, I don't think I want to.
I usually look at dollar bills doing other stuff, which I don't do anymore. So
see, a method house is just a bunch of people standing on their porch going, 525,600 meth heads.
I mean, I feel like it's just the rejects from the drama class. They're just like, no, we live here together. It's fine. Which I'm pretty sure is just Rent. Reference made.
Reference made. Half-baked reference, yes.
Yes. I mean, that's the best part. But speaking of
half-baked.
half-baked. Well, okay.
Actually, no. I'll get to it in a bit. You want to go first?
My thing is this, okay? So the original cartoon came out when?
Okay. Yeah. The Netflix adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender came out recently and was very popular on the platform. However, it has been decried as a poor adaptation, which is true, and we'll get into why.
Yeah. Yes.
But Avatar: The Last Airbender, for me, this came out in 2005, so I was in 5th grade, and it ended when I was in 8th grade in 2008. Yeah, that's right, motherfucker. I
was getting divorced. You were in grade 5. I was getting divorced.
Yeah, that's always good. A good time. But this came out. The main character of Aang, the Avatar, is 12 years old. I was 11, so like I felt a special connection to the show when it came out. I was like, yeah, I love this universe. I love the bending, all that stuff.
And that's why he now has an arrow on his forehead. That's just.
Yeah. Dude, I kind of do though. Like
you totally do. You have a great widow's peak. That's fair, right? Yeah.
I know. I should be inviting you in for cakes and then sucking your blood like a true vampire. But Willy Wonka. Yeah. Damn it, that's also a good title idea. Anyway,
yeah.
So it was like. It was a big deal. You have channels like overanalyzing Avatar. Like it has a very deep and devoted fan base, even over like almost 20 years later.
Yeah.
And in 2010, M. Night Shyamalan tried to make a live action movie of it, and he failed because he's an idiot.
Thankfully, the studios jumped in, and it was never released, and we never talk about it again because
Yes.
it didn't exist, because it is a travesty and or an abomination of all sorts of things.
There is no movie in Ba Sing Se.
That is factual. That is how things are. So, if you don't know that reference,
go watch
Do Better Things.
Airbender. Also on Netflix. The
Also
original
on Netflix.
cartoon is on Netflix, and it's very good. But they announced they were doing this live action adaptation during the pandemic, and I was a little afraid. And then the original creators of the show, left during production, and I got even more afraid.
Yes.
Because if the people who made the thing are like, we don't want to do this, they're still doing other Avatar stuff. There's an Avatar Studios now.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Right. Theoretically.
I think what bothers me the most about this adaptation is that, why do you need this to be here? The original already exists.
Also true.
What's the point of being like, we made the same thing again? I have the same argument about hooray for Appa.
Appa's
I have the same argument about the Disney live action remakes. The movies are still there. You can still go see them.
Correct.
The show is still there. You can still go watch it. And especially in a universe like Avatar, where the your main character God damn it. Where the main character in the Avatar universe is this constantly reincarnating person. Yeah. What's the point of doing the same story again? Make a new Avatar. Pick one that's been referenced before. They did it amazingly with the Kyoshi novels.
Hey, so that's this is the problem with yes. Victoria's like, your ball cap looks amazing. She got me this. I have a mug on the way, and we have this. This is what we got in LA. Which I'm like, yes, these are prized possessions.
Or made to maintain the rights to the story. No other reasons. Clearly not profit. I mean, at least for Shyamalan's version, I don't think it was made to maintain rights. I think they still had him at that point.
His whole thing was that his kids loved it, so he was going to do it. And you're like, okay. I hope he lost his whole family. I hope his whole family was like, you have betrayed us. You are like that. That's like a guy who's like, I cheated for our relationship. You're like, no, you didn't. You fool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it also has these two little horns, which I saw. It's very enjoyable.
Very
cute. Disney. Listen, I have yet to see a live action Disney where you're going like, oh, this is an improvement. You're like, absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah. Are you a Doctor Who fan at all?
I always found it very boring. But the idea of Doctor Who, like David Tennant, I'm a fan of David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Okay. And I am tempted to go back and watch their seasons because I think they're great, right? But Doctor Who in general was like, because it was British TV, right? And as a young person, that's a hard sell. Like, it is not easy to watch British people do anything because they're very slow at it, and they talk with a lot of words. Of words.
I remember a teacher showing us Faulty Towers when I was in 7th grade and trying my hardest. I know this is good. I want to like this, but it was hard at the time. Anyway, the reason I bring up Doctor Who is that it's kind of a parallel to Avatar as a character. It's a constantly reincarnating thing, and then whatever story you're telling with this particular incarnation of the Doctor or the Avatar means you can do whatever you want to fit that particular story. And they're just not doing that. They're retreading the same ground over and over. The fact that they had to fight tooth and nail to make Legend of Korra past season 1. Yeah. It really hurt its storytelling, where they're like, we don't know if this is going to go very far. So season 1 felt kind of rushed. Season 2 was garbage. Season 3, chef's kiss.
I still haven't seen the full Legend of Korra because I was like, what are you doing with this? Like, where are you going? And I got to, I think the first few episodes of season 2, and I just no, I'm I'll wait.
They had a cool idea with the whole Civil War thing, and then they made it all about the spirits, and then
which so like, and that's the thing is like you had Iroh come back and he was living in the spirit world, and you're like, that's super fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
But you're like, you didn't make a new story, you brought back old stuff so people would like your new thing. You're like, that's not the same thing, right? So
yeah,
I like this. I don't watch anime. Little known fact: the live action Lion King has the same amount of real lions as in the original.
He's right. Kyle's right.
I mean, thanks, Kyle. Thank you.
Like, there's a difference between Easter eggs because it's in the same universe and like just straight up fan service where they're just like, look, it's the thing from the before, or whatever. Like the Kyoshi novels did it really well, and you can tell that the author of it, FC Yi, is super invested in this universe. So you have references to like the world that these characters lived in, which feels really lived in. But it's not like this is the Avatar 2 before Aang, so how can you have that be a thing?
Yeah,
right. You just can't.
See, and that's the thing is like when you like, I have my only issues with this was they very well could have done half-hour episodes. They didn't have to do hour-long ones, which I was like, okay, like you're trying to develop more, but what you're actually doing is you're figuring out what you can chop en masse, which I like. It's different because it's live action. I get it. It's fine. But like a lot of people were like, oh, there's not enough character development. You're like, hey, it's also season 1. Remember, season 1 of the cartoon didn't have a lot of development. Why? Because they just needed to get through the season to a good place so they could develop people. Because remember, second season, third season, way more character development, right? But that's, think about it. First episode is the pilot. It's going to take time. And with cartoons, you don't know what's going to happen. You just kind of put it out there and hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
But you're not, excuse me, you're not drawing while it's airing. It's all done by the time it hits, TV. So
because like they had their pilot, they showed it to Nickelodeon. You can watch the unaired pilot where like there's still stuff that doesn't make it into the show. Like the Fire Nation armor had actual flames on it, and the real show it doesn't. Stuff like that. So you like pilots I think are different with
but
with live action.
But the thing I think about it is that a pilot kind of gives you an idea, but then the first season you're like, we just got to get through it, right? So you have to be more selective of what you include. So a lot more action, a little more emotion. Like you're looking at really high peaks and really low lows, like heartbreak and love versus plot development. Like even in the first season, you could hear the song, the tune for Leaves on the Vine, and you're just like, I could not. I was just like, Victoria's like, oh, what do you think of? I'm like, I can't talk right now. Don't make me talk. Don't make me open my mouth.
The things I liked about it, because like all that stuff was just background and like, why is this here? For the actual show itself.
Yes.
Things I liked. I liked how they did the Fire Nation. The Fire Nation was pretty good. Iroh wasn't quite as good as the original show, but they did him pretty solid. I know that's a hard hoop to jump through.
No, but that I've actually met him. I met him at one of the comedy stores around here. It was the comedy bar in Toronto, and I was actually right beside him, and I was like, I can't talk to you because you remind me of my dad too much, because like he plays the uncle Appa, which or
Iroh.
Appa, no. It's like it's a Toronto based convenience. It's Kim's Convenience is the actual show, and he was the grandfather, which went by Appa. Hilarious. But he was an immigrant and would always be careful with people and trying to learn, and they're the gay, and you're just like, because they don't know, he's Korean, he doesn't know shit. But like he doesn't speak that way, but also too like that way of trying to be friendly to people and stuff like that remind me of my dad, and I'm like, I can't talk to you, and we cracked a couple jokes, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go now, sir, because he was like, oh, okay. It's like but like I love that they I just hope that season 3 rolls around, they hire like he gets hired a gym trainer and gets like stacked. Like that's what I want. But
gets freaking cut like
yeah,
he does
because
in prison.
that's the story. So hey man, you signed up for it, you get that shit done. But
yeah, I liked how they did that. I liked what they did where like Zuko had this notebook where he's like taking notes on all the past avatars and like
yes, that was a little bit different, and I did like it because it bridged that gap between them very quick. Oh, I stole your thing and I read it, and you've been helping me. And he's like, I don't want to help you. I want to catch you. He's like, you can't catch me. I'm the Avatar.
Yeah, I didn't quite like the conversation they had after the whole Blue Spirit thing. Like they kept the ladder chase from the Blue Spirit, which was cool. I thought they were going to cut that, but they kept it. But I didn't like where he's talking, and that's the thing that's supposed to kind of chip away at Zuko's wall between them. But in the original show, like Aang has this little monologue where he's like, you know, the worst part about being, you know, here after 100 years is all my like I don't have all my friends I used to have, and I used to have friends in the Fire Nation. If we were, you know, if we knew each other back then, do you think we would have been friends? And then Zuko just like chucks fire at him immediately, no words, and then he's just like fuck. And I feel like that did a lot more than them being like, let's have a powwow, and then Zuko's like, I want to capture you. That doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. No, I'm not a huge fan of the guy that they have for Zuko. But
I like him. He's pretty good.
He's not bad. I prefer Rufio. That's my opinion.
Dante Bosco. Yeah, the voice is very distinctive for sure.
Super distinct, but also too, he looks like Zuko. Like when you see him, like in real life, you're going, I get it. You know,
that's fair.
From Dragon Ball Z, Widow speaking.
I like that you have like a couple of the fights where you see Zuko not even using firebending. You see him using like just regular martial arts. Like when they're in Omashu and they're like in the clothes and they're like using that was a really cool fight scene. I like that they changed Zhao from like this big, larger than life, I'm an admiral now, to a snivelly little like Game of Thrones worm. I like what they did with that. That was cool.
Yeah, because also like it shows that he was completely incompetent during the whole time, and you're like, oh yeah, he is, and also like because Zhao was who Zuko fought with, and Iroh stepped in, right?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the show, they have like their Agni Kai, which is kind of not a very good fight scene.
And no, but Iroh steps in and goes, bro, you tried to hit him in the back. I'll fuck you. Like, because bro, the Dragon of the West. You can't like. I'm angry that they didn't have him show down when he goes, whatever you do to that spirit, I will do to you tenfold. When that happens, Iroh fucking drops it. And I'm like, I remember that like in Rogue One when Darth Vader comes out and just starts kicking the shit out of everybody. I'm like, bro, I waited for that scene for 30 years. And now, and I'm like, now it's 20 years that I've waited for Iroh to bust someone's ass. And I'm like, come on.
That's the first time you see him angry in the entire show. Because like even when he catches Zhao's foot and like throws him back, he's like,
nope, not worth it.
Just like disappointed almost, like you done fucked up. This one, he's like, I will kill your face if you do anything to that fish. Like,
but yeah, that's and that's the whole thing where like if you are a complete and utter fucking nerd like myself, like there have been a few comics of Darth Vader and stuff where like the Rebel Alliance actually downed Vader's ship onto a planet and then started using artillery to attack him. Okay, it's all in a comic book. And what's up, Angie?
Sorry, that was for Angie. Yeah,
I agree. So when that happened, they were like, "Ha, we got you." He's like, "No." He did a Rorschach and is like, "No, you're stuck here with me." And then he just started destroying fucking everything. Why? Because he's Darth fucking Vader. Yeah. So in the same sense, Iroh being the Dragon of the West, you're like, hey man, the reason why people don't fuck with him is because they know exactly how devastating he can be. And so he like him taking a more or a lesser role as opposed to how the cartoon was. I'm like, I'm hoping that it blossoms later, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not unhappy, and I trust that actor to bring it eventually, right? Like there are limitations, right? There's gonna be. I feel like Kyle right now is just going, "Oh, stop talking about cartoons."
I don't care. Honestly, cartoons are like animation can do something live action can't, and I'm surprised instead of we're adapting cartoons to live action, we should do it the other way around. Make
100%.
Make Game of Thrones a cartoon. I want to see what happens. You know.
Oh, well, did you ever watch the movie Bright?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a cartoon, and it takes place in like feudal Japan. Fucking awesome. Worst episode of
Fuck you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay, so for the most part, liked how they did the Fire Nation. I didn't like how they crammed all these different episodes together in setting.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, Amashu has the King Boomy, Teo and the Mechanist, and Jet all in the same place.
Yeah.
And they just kind of, you know,
you
have all the one character involved with each thing.
Yeah.
And they splits them up and just
they really that's the thing is they cut a lot. They cut as much fat as possible, but if you know anything about cooking meat, you shouldn't cut all the fat. You need some fat. It adds flavor. It's that simple. So like they had certain things in and you're like, okay, like you cut it short or you didn't develop as much because I think that they wanted to get through. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm still tolerant, but you're on thin ice kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because like by cutting fat, they made more fat especially this is the thing that bothered me the most, the amount of info dumps in the writing. I am not blaming the actors. I think the actors did a great job, especially because these are kids, most of them.
Yeah.
And they did the best job with the material they had. But like Aang the most would do this thing where he would just kind of turn to the camera and give you his D&D roll sheet of like, he's like, I'm the Avatar. Like just, it's not good. And it really just doesn't get across like, okay, for the people who are watching for the first time, they're getting lore dumps. And for the people who have seen the original cartoon, like you're not.
Yeah. Which is like, that is a hard, and that's the whole problem with redoing something that's already done is like, well, we already know all that. And people are like, well, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, but that's because you're a loser. That's not on me, right?
Go watch the original.
Yeah. Like, and that's
stigmatizing cartoons.
Well, Kyle. Live a little, embrace your youth. I don't know.
It's not even a youth thing. Like, sure, it is a children's cartoon, but like the themes and the writing
can do
so much more. Like the fact that there are like a bunch of Iroh bangers that I still use in everyday life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wisdom has been chasing you your whole life, but you have always been faster. You're like, oh goddamn. It's so brutal. That. Also, I just love that they included the cabbage man. You're like, come on.
They have to.
Yeah, I mean, my cabbages. That's only fair. They hilariously, Boomy was great. But also like they really jumped ahead with what was Boomy's city name? Omashu. Yeah. With that. And also
Bob's Burgers, great show.
The sister Azula's two friends.
Yeah.
They were cast wonky, and I'm like,
they didn't need to be there. Like, they're just kind of commenting on Azula being frustrated. I didn't like how they characterized Ozai because in the original show, it's you spoke out in my war room. I don't really like you anyway. You will learn respect, and suffering will be your teacher. Versus, you're kind of a pussy. Go out and capture the Avatar. Like that's it. It's
no, it's not. Yeah.
And then like in the scene where Zuko gets burned in the original, he's like, I'm not gonna fight my dad. Don't do this to me. And then in the live action, he defends himself and kind of puts him on the back foot.
Tries.
For a second there. He's 13, man.
Yeah.
Like,
which is, I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Also, like, let me try my Bob's Burger impression. Oh my god. Is that pretty good?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's I do like who they picked for the Fire Lord. He looks the part. He really
he looks like Ozai. definitely.
He definitely looks like Ozai. Kyoshi, loved it.
Oh yeah,
A
I liked
big
what they.
mountainous bitch beating the shit out of people. Loved the fuck out of it. It's great.
I liked what they did with Kyoshi. I don't like what they did with Suki on Kyoshi Island, where in the original she kind of gives Sokka a bloody nose and like teaches him to not be a sexist pig. And then in the live action, she's just kind of in heat.
A little bit.
When she sees him, like,
yeah, she's also like, man meat, and then also beats his ass. And you're like, I'm not sure which one of those is what works. But like I do apparently there's supposed to be a Kyoshi cartoon or there's gonna be a movie in end of this year or 2025. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I know there's a movie with like the gang as adults, which again, that's fine. That's like
love it.
Territory that we haven't.
Well, because they touch. So they just so you guys understand, okay? For this is going to be for Kyle. This is basically, and whoever else hasn't seen it. Was the idea is that the Avatar gets reincarnated as the Avatar, and it travels around. It's not lineage. It's independent of genetics. Now, that being said, is that when he is in the Avatar state, that is very taxing because he's larger than life.
Yeah.
But he spent 100 years underwater in preserved in ice in that state, so he aged super fast. So when he came out of the ice, he's 11. He's 11 years old.
Yeah,
but they're like, yeah, but he only lived till like he was like 35 because you're like, yeah, the Avatar state like essentially brutalizes your body. Right?
He dies in like his like 50s or something. He's pretty young.
I think it's less. I think it's like it's not old, but like he also looks younger, right? But then you're like, that's the whole thing is all of his friends got to live older. So you're like, he technically was already 100, but not really. Like it's this weird
like
thing,
with,
right?
In the Kyoshi novels, the Avatar before her, Korok, the water Avatar, he dies in his like early 30s because he ignores the physical world to go deal with like spirits because they're about to like attack the human world. So he spends all his time fighting these spirits, dies young, and then when it's Kyoshi's turn, the world is falling apart because he left it neglected. So a lot of the novel is like her trying to, much like Aang, she's got to like get her shit together pretty quick.
Yeah. But she also does not give a fuck, which I'm like, delicious.
But like, here are some like for people saying Avatar is just a kid show. Life happens where you are, whether you make it or not.
Yes.
Pride is not the opposite of its shame, but its source.
Pride is not. Yeah. Oh, that's Iroh, baby.
Yeah. Iroh.
What? Yeah. He's like, hands down, I love him as a character just for the fact that, you know, it reminds me of my dad specifically because I'm like, when my dad had me, he was in his 40s when I was hitting, 18 and this size, he was 60. We did not have the same relationship that he had with the rest of my siblings. It was just a different one, right? So that's even to the point where I remember telling him in front of Victoria, it was me, Victoria, my mom, and him. We were having lunch, and I told him, like, "Do you remember in grade 9 when I brought home my intern report card and I had 2 A's?" He's like, "Yeah." And you know what you said? He goes, "No." I go, "You said you looked at it for once." I go, "I had never brought home an A, and this is midterm, okay?"
Yeah.
And I had two A's, and I had never brought home an A.
Yeah.
He looked at it, goes, "You could do better," and went back to watching TV. Never brought an A home again. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Not until college, and then I was like, I may not show you my report card. Get fucked. So
the hammer forgets, the nail does not. You know?
So when I told him that, I'm like, "Yeah. Do you remember what you said? You said you could do better," and I never brought one home again. And then he goes, "Well, why didn't you come talk to me?" I'm like, "Oh, because you were someone that welcomed conversation happily." And my mom spit out her lunch and started laughing her ass off. And my dad's like, "All right, maybe you have a point." I'm like, ta-da! Like and that's why like you're seeing Iroh was the Dragon of the West, capable of so much destruction and so much power and authority. And now he's like, "I just miss my son. And I'm trying to help my nephew." Like, that's amazing.
Oh, speaking of helping his nephew, the Liu Ten funeral was a great inclusion, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also, too, like the actor playing Iroh did such a great job with that.
Yeah.
Where we're just looking. I'm like, there are times when I will be in an emotionally charged state, and I'm like, I don't trust my voice, but I'm like, you'll look at my eyes and you're like, you all right? And I'm like, nope. And just right, because you're like, you can't. It's tough to verbalize sometimes. Also, yeah, Atlas is Vegeta and Dino's Nappa. Obviously, that is definitely going to happen, and it's not going to be good Photoshop. I'll tell you that. It's going to be mine.
When we hit our lowest point, we're open to our greatest change.
Jesus, I feel like that. I feel like you should have a book of quotes from like Winston Churchill and Uncle Iroh.
Yeah, that one was Aang though. That's not
Aang.
Yeah.
Aang. Well, okay.
Or
also,
here's one from Toph. There's no different angle, no clever solution, no trickety trick that's going to move that rock.
I'm really looking forward to her. Just because she's such a fucking badass. I love how she's like, are you sure the boulder and not just the pebble? And he's like, the boulder is conflicted. And I'm like, that is a great fucking line. Like it's one of those things where even into the Legend of Korra, you're like, she's still fucking badass.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that like people say that Toph doesn't have an arc. She learns to
be a person.
Yeah, like be vulnerable and to ask for help when she needs it. And Toph was the only character I enjoyed from Avatar. That's okay. That's
because you're a bad person. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Hey, there's a good chance you're kind of Toph. Just so you know.
He kind of is.
I'm your Iroh. You're welcome.
Well, you look like Iroh too.
I definitely look Iroh, and I am happy about it, sir.
What does that make me, Sokka?
I mean, a little bit. Yeah, there's a very good chance. But then, I don't know. It's like that's the best, but you might be the Avatar.
God, I don't want to be the Avatar.
You have no choice, sir. It's a calling. It's not something you just get. But yeah, no. It's overall. What would you say? Well, how would you rank it?
I would say that if this is someone's first like experience with the Avatar universe, and then that causes them to go watch the original cartoon and Korra, great.
Yeah.
But if it turns out to be a thing where you watch it and you're like, oh, the live action was better, you missed everything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of, is that either they're going to do that or they're going to watch the live action and be like, well, why would I watch the cartoon? The live action exists.
Yeah. I would highly recommend watching the live action, then going back and watching the first season of the cartoon. If you enjoy the live action and you haven't seen the cartoon, I would say watch the live action, then go watch the first season of the cartoon, and you will be super happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the real difficult part, is that people won't do that. They'll be like, oh, I remember watching the movie, and you're like, I will fucking kill you, I swear to God, because that's the one what I'm really, really enjoying, is that more fans means there's going to be more product. That's the one definite thing. And also to it coming out new, I know there are a lot of parents, I'm sure, who are like, oh, I'll get my kid involved in this and they might like it, and you're like, you're breeding another generation of fans, which I'm okay with, right? Like that is a beneficial thing in the grand scheme of things. But
if this ends up being like, so for example, people my age who Pokemon was brand new and now our kids are into Pokemon, like maybe you get something like that down the line. But I do know that the people who made this, made the show care a lot about it and care a lot about the stuff that they make. And I hope that they keep having a hand in it. Both those two, and also Aaron Ehas, who wrote all the like really good episodes of that. But he also does the Dragon Prince now. Have you seen that?
No. Well, I still want to see Vox Machina, which was apparently a lot of the same voice actors and a lot of the same production house. Yeah. I never like this. The problem is, like, even Avatar, like I think it had come out and I was already like, oh, it looks interesting, but it might just be a shitty cartoon. And then I was like, oh no. Like I watched an episode, I was like, oh no, this has got a real story to it. And I'm like, I'll watch that. I can also I can also bend air, so his claims to be the last is false. I mean, technically, me and my kid watched the fuck out of DB Super together. I mean, but that's a good thing, right? Like, but realistically, in the same sense, if they brought back, if they tried to do a live action Dragon Ball, like, no, don't do that. Right? Like, it's bad enough that things are as hard as they are to make something, but redoing it, and especially too, like Dragon Ball takes forever for every episode, which I'm like, awesome, but also get fucked.
Well, because like it's like what Goku charging a spirit bomb for 3 episodes and then he misses or whatever.
At least, yeah. And you're like, I can't watch that a second time. That's a little bit much, but you know,
I tried to get Katie to watch it with me once, and then this was kind of early in our relationship where I couldn't, you know, do as much, and we weren't living together yet. So it didn't really work. And she's like, "I'll watch it with you if you watch all the Key and Peele with me." And I was like, "Done." So
yeah, totally fair.
Currently watching Key and Peele right now.
Anyway,
yeah. So I hope that's for the people who, you know, in Glasgow who had a bad time. I hope you get your money back.
Met this person?
Yeah, the bored Oompa Loompa. Oompa Loompa.
Just remember, it was also the same price as Homerland.
Oh my god, that's
just
amazing.
about. Yeah, I mean, it is hilarious.
So for them, and then for the people watching the Avatar live action, just go back and watch the original. It's way better. Yeah. It's also on Netflix.
It's also on Netflix. Yeah. And never ever mention the movie. Just don't.
Yeah. It's also like a huge mind fuck when you watch, because I remember episodes coming out on a week-to-week basis and then the break in the season, then you got to wait. So you didn't really notice Aang's voice dropping. But now when you watch it just all in a row, you're like, whoa, between seasons 2 and 3, wow, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
you went from Morty to Rick. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely. I highly recommend it, and I can't say I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to more of it coming out. That's for sure.
Yeah, and once again, I'm not completely decrying it like it was with the movie. What movie?
Yeah,
but it's like C+. Kyle, Kyle, I will come up there. I will gain a foot of height somehow, and I will throw you into the Atlantic Ocean.
Atlas starts taking steroids just to fight fight Kyle. I mean, that's I mean, I have now. I question why you broke up with this lady if she was doing that while you were watching Dragon Ball Z.
I know that's like the ultimate teenage boy fantasy, right?
I mean.
Also, I know
teenage boy, grown ass man, doesn't matter. We're all thinking the same thing.
Who knows? Who cares? Anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.